Hi, I'm Ananya Ajatasatru, currently doing my Masters in Economics, and today I'm going to talk about the concept of open knowledge and its role in society. The Sustainable Development Goal 4 on education aims at ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and to promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, through which we understand the importance of open and free education. In the present era of internet and social media, there have been great strides towards achieving this. One of the most successful and celebrated story relating this has been of Sal Khan through his commendable efforts towards creating the free online education platform known as Khan Academy. Furthermore, there has also been a rise in edtubers or educational YouTube channels like 3 Blue 1 Brown by Grant Sanderson, CGP Grey, Victoria Hart's channel Why Heart, Veritasium by Derek Mueller, among many others who have found innovative ways to disseminate knowledge and to educate. But the tale doesn't end here. Let's go beyond the formative phase into the goal of lifelong learning. Here in the core of academia, there is a distinctive knowledge moat that still persists towards research. Currently, there is a knowledge oligopoly in research and academia by a select few publishers who have created a moat to knowledge in form of paywalls and that barriers not only common individuals but even students, academicians and independent researchers have a hard time accessing research crucial to new findings and innovations. One of the biggest open secret in research and academia is pertaining to Sci-Hub by Alexandria Albakin and LibGen that are known to provide unhindered access to paid research papers from published journals, although they have been deemed to be delving in academic piracy. The counter to this has been the advocacy for open science, which I would rather go towards terming not only science in the traditional sense, but rather in the broad context of human desire to acquire knowledge and information. Social psychologist Susanna Zuboff defines our present age as this age of surveillance capitalism, where information and access to information is of paramount interest, since the way it is disseminated and is consumed defines the individual's behavior and response, which in turn sets the societal values and ideals. Hence, it is crucial that access to information and in consequence knowledge of it needs to be transparent and open, so that individuals can form rational perception of our shared reality. The onset of COVID-19 pandemic proves this point, given the level of confusion which arose from widespread misinformation of the situation and the required response. For instance, one particular study which got published in one of the esteemed journals claimed how smoking protects against COVID, a glaring case of misleading statistical analysis. Yet, it passed the verification process of the journal. The journalistic fervor for controversy and novelty in academic publication led to an ever-growing list of such COVID-19 related research, whose findings were widely reported in the news and media, but were far from reality. Responsibly, many of them got retracted once they were open for public review. Here, the irony being that the publishers most often justify their prices as the cost for credibility, for fact-checking and quality control. A list of such retracted studies can be found from the site which tracks such publication known as Retraction Watch. There needs to be open access to the data and the background methodology of the research, since it not only helps in building consensus but also allows for transdisciplinary discourse. Also, there needs to be wider encouragement for replication studies to validate earlier findings. Hence, a shared and collective strive towards research is of great priority. Furthermore, knowledge needs to be considered as a public good to avoid the plague of broad constructed narratives derived by those who may have vested interest in setting their own agendas. The current practice of research publication draws its roots from a business rather than scientific outlook, and it goes against the norms of scientific rationale. In 1942, Robert Merton introduced 4 sets of institutional imperatives that comprise the ethos of modern science, which came to be known as Mertonian norms, which has further been revised into 5 comprising of communalism, that is, all scientists should have common ownership of scientific goods to promote collective collaboration. Then is universalism, that is, scientific validity is independent of the socio-political status or personal attributes of its participants. Next is disinterestedness, where scientific institutions act for the benefit of common scientific enterprise rather than for personal gain or of individuals within them. Then is originality, which asks for intended novelty to add to the existing literature. And lastly is skepticism. Scientific claims should be exposed to critical scrutiny before being accepted, both in methodology and institutional codes of conduct. Philosopher Karl Popper, who had a great influence in the development of science through his principle for falsification, is also known for his political philosophy towards advocating for open science. Openness has to be one of the basic ethical principles, not only for undaunted progress in research and development, but also its role in building consensus and valued criticism. Since a monopoly in the process of distributing research also provides a monopoly towards validating it, which limits the spectrum of diversity in innovation and discovery. Also, from an economic point of view, the business model of academic journals are highly skewed, since the costs have significantly reduced with the online journals, as most of the work is already done by the authors themselves. And the cost of distribution also has become much cheaper. The journals don't have to pay their authors, nor the reviewers, since peer review works on voluntary basis, and in essence, the public pays for the content in form of the research itself. The view of research publication as a profit-oriented business itself is highly flawed, since treating research publication as any other form of media distribution business doesn't make any sense, since researchers don't get paid for sale in journals, or nor do they receive any royalties. All the revenue goes to the publisher. We need to bridge the gap between research and action, and this is what is promised by the concept of an open approach to data, access, and diversity of knowledge in research. There have been attempts through the idea of open access journal, but that also has its flaws, since most often it shifts the charge onto the authors rather than addressing the fact that the process of dissemination of knowledge cannot be profit-oriented, and the existing model of business has to be revised. There have also been attempts at a more social media approach to research publication in form of platforms such as ResearchGate, where researchers connect and share their publication among each other. It is not a perfect alternative in its current form, but it too has received its undue share of persecution from the major academic publisher. And the guidelines for sharing research is again controlled by the publishers. Platforms like Sci-Hub and LibGen are only the result of a long unaddressed problem of how we view the nature and idea of building knowledge. Hence, even though they might be branded as illegal, but illegal doesn't always mean wrong. Also, another question comes, which is, if researchers already know of these barriers to access, why don't they themselves boycott the publishers in search of alternatives? Well, there have been attempts at that in past, but then again, most often they get subsumed, since the effectiveness of platform like Sci-Hub is too good, and in fact it's too good for itself, as it receives download requests from almost all regions of the world among all diversity of discipline. And even though researchers don't get paid directly for submitting articles, but yet are heavily pressured to get published in prestigious journals as a yardstick of professional success. Hence, the cost of retaliation is too high, and in sort of a game theory puzzle, individual action is linked with group action, and there is a deadlock of what has already been established. Sci-Hub and the esteemed publisher are also similarly in a deadlock and have formed a symbiotic relation where the nature of one has become analogous to the existence of the other. But the real question is, for how long do we let the influence of publication determine the course of action in research? The process of acquiring and building knowledge can't be seen as a privilege and needs diversity. Article 27 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights drives this point closer than ever by conveying everyone has the right to freely participate and share scientific advancements and its benefits. Thank you.